train us, or he'll put battles and fights in our life that are so incredible that we even think, even if it's just an inch off the word, then we're going to go for it. One thing that when I was at training and I realized was, the importance of our weapons. We were taught that your weapon is basically more important than you, because without your weapon, you're basically nothing on the battlefield. And so what they did is they started off with the basics. That you learn the ins and outs of it, how to take it apart and how to clean it and how to look through it. And before you ever fire the weapon, you have to dry fire it at least 150 to 200 times. Now that was what we had to do. So little things like that. So in our training, if you were to give a civilian a weapon and just tell them to go fight a war, then they wouldn't know what to do. Like most of the time, they would just go and it would be chaos, and then they would be thrown into an army, and then they would have no clue how to fight this war. Now that's what we do in a lot of situations. Is we're thrown into a war, the greatest war ever fought, and we're thrown in with the Bible, but that we don't know how to read, and we don't even know where these scriptures are, or where these scriptures lay, and we're expected to fight a battle that we know how to win, and like the scripture shows us how to win, but we don't know where to go in the scriptures to look, and it's scary. So as we progressed through training, and we looked at those, and basically our weapons became part of us. Now at first it's kind of irritating, and it's kind of like, it's kind of sluggish, and you have to carry around this weapon, and it's kind of like, why do we have to do this? And then towards the end of training, once you realize, once you get good with it, and once you understand how it works and how to take it apart in a certain amount of time, and you know how to clean it, and it becomes so precious to you. And when you qualify with it, and when you become one with the weapon, if they were allowed to, they don't allow you to do this, but if they were allowed to, they would make you sleep with it, because it's just that important to you. And when you're in deployments, you literally sleep with your weapons. Now we're on a constant deployment because we're always in war and we're always in battle. So we have to sleep with our weapons. We have to understand that this training is so important to us. It's so vital into. So I wanted to take a look. Okay, so there's this thing on the timeline of weapons technology and just how important it is. So in 400,000 BC, the earliest of the humans, we were using spears. So obviously we don't believe that's that old. Let me scoot on. But in Jesus' time, they used these things called tray buckets, which were in China, and you could sling things. Basically, it was like a big old catapult, basically. So that was then. So after Christ, they used something called firearms were starting to be like hand cannons, and small battle arms were starting to be developed. In the 1400s, longbows started to come around. In 1368 to 1644, new firearm technology started to come out. In the 1750s to 1800s, rockets became a permanent fixture on the battlefield. In the 1700s, the first submarine was used in battle. In 1803, the British Army began to use shrapnel shells. In 1836, the revolving gun, so the machine gun. In 1851, multiple barreled machine guns were used. In 1876 to 1883, military submarines started shooting rockets. And in 2008, another milestone for high energy lasers. The airborne laser is fired from an aircraft for the first time. And in 2009, so this was almost 10 years ago, a U.S. government report advocates using neuroscience to enhance soldiers' abilities. So you take a look at the evolution of weapons and just how incredible it's been since the start of the ages. Men have seen technology, and we've seen it increase and increase and increase. So you take a look at that same battlefield, that same warfare that you're fighting naturally, and how people in the militaries fight naturally with these warfares. Now they're using humans basically to neuroscience to enhance basically. Like you see these in movies, basically robots to fight. That's not it's not come out yet, but that's in the making. And that same battle is being fought spiritually. Like, that's just how important the battlefield is spiritually with the evolution of weapons. If that happened 10 years ago,